Hi, I'm Ryn.
And I'm Katja.
And these are Elsie's ears.
Hi, Elsie. Elsie's going to help us talk to you about Samhain.
Yeah. So, with all the other holidays, the ones that go with the Path of the Sun and the Wheel of the Year, I've been having fun talking about the astronomy of this. And if you were to look at Samhain as its place in that eight-spoke wheel, it would be the midpoint between the autumn equinox and the winter solstice. And that would make it fall on November 7th at midnight 25. But Halloween has completely eaten this one, and so I don't know anybody who doesn't think about Samhain and put it right there on October 31st.
Yeah, even the idea of Samhain on November 7th just seems very weird. But of course, these holidays are agrarian, and they go back long before we used calendars in everyday life. And so it was sort of, people knew that it was time for Samhain because the year told them that, the place in the cycle, the state of the plants and the stars and all the stuff gave them that information.
Yeah. So, Samhain is a lot like Halloween in some ways. It's this festival of the darkness and the dying of the year, passing into the underworld. It stands in the year opposite Beltane, which is that festival of light and fertility in the high summer. And so Samhain is also going to represent the end of your harvest, the end of that time, and taking in the last fruits of the year, the last harvest of the year. And
Samhain is a really solemn time, and Elsie's just not having it.
No. No, she's done. One of the other things that would have been associated there would have been burning up things that you were done with. And that's one of the ways that you've always talked about this time of year.
Yeah. We did that when we lived on the farm. We every year we would have a big bonfire at Samhain, and we would put into the fire the things that we were done with in our own lives, and whether they were habits that we were trying to move past, or whatever. That was the time that we could say, this, I don't need this anymore. I don't need sugar anymore. I don't need, this particular way of responding to stress anymore because it's not really serving me. So it's not just that you burn up your, lawn stuff, like dead branches and I mean, you can do that, but, it's not just putting the garden to bed or whatever, but also, just sort of putting to bed the things that just don't serve you anymore in your own life.
Yeah, to let them die as well.
So all cultures have this recognition. It may not always in all cultures be at the same time, but at least here in the North and in Northern cultures, it usually is this time of year. And if you look outside in New England right now, it's entirely reasonable because all the plants are dying back. And the animals are preparing to lay low for the winter. And really, throughout almost all of human history, we humans would be doing exactly the same thing. At least we humans in the North. We would be retreating to our homes, sitting near the hearth to conserve our energy and to wait for the new year.
So saying it that way, it sort of makes it sound a little less appealing than certain other types of celebration one might engage in. It's time to wait. Great, that sounds wonderful. Let's do that. Yeah, but this kind of waiting, this kind of settling in, this is a kind of work. This is a time when your body can prioritize certain kinds of function that it doesn't get to do while you're awake or wakeful or summery. Just like sleep. Even though we don't like to think about that as, productive or useful. What is it? I'll sleep when I'm dead. That one goes back a long time.
Yeah. The truth about humans, though, is that we can't actually work all the time. And we can't be happy, smiling agents of customer service 365 days a year. That just doesn't work. We need time for introspection. We need time to go to bed early. We need time for processing. And the cycle of the year gives us that. we have, the excitement of spring, and then the long days of summer, and then the rush of the harvest, and then the rest in winter, right? That's our time to do that resting work. And when I was farming in Vermont, this was very tangible, right? Like, the summer is short, so we worked like crazy all summer long, and then all winter we stayed inside where it was warm, and we repaired things, like harnesses and tools and whatever. We just repaired all the stuff that we wrecked all summer because we were working so hard, including ourselves. And we slept way more because in the summer, when you are a farmer, you do not sleep. And we made up physically for all of the work that we had done all summer as well. So in this culture, especially in urban culture, we equate rest with unproductiveness. But that's actually not the case. When you are resting and when you're sleeping, you're doing a ton of work that actually can't be done when you're awake or when you're in one of those cycles of high activity. So this is time when your body is processing all of the stuff that you're finished with, whether that is like hormones that you're done with and you're breaking down and getting rid of, or whatever other kind of toxins in your body that you're just getting rid of, or also emotional stuff that you're finished with, that you're ready to discard. And this happens in a little way every night when you go to sleep, right? That's like the daily cycle of clearing out the trash, getting rid of the stuff you don't need anymore. And then the longer period cycle happens every year where the winter comes, and that is like the sleep time. That is the larger time to do like the big interior work, some introspection, some thinking about yourself and your year, and then clearing out the stuff you don't need anymore.
Yeah. So when it comes to sleep, one of the herbs that I think about a lot and work with a lot there is mugwort. So mugwort would connect to these ideas that you're talking about here because it enhances dreaming. And there's probably a lot of different actions that are at play there. A number of different aromatic plants have had some association with dreaming in different cultures and different times and places. But mugwort really stands out for this. And I think one aspect of it is that it does improve the quality or the depth of the sleep that you get. One thing that I've observed giving mugwort to people is that you find that they can often sleep more steadily straight through the night. So this is not so much an herb that's useful for people who have trouble falling asleep first. You might try chamomile instead for that. But it's for people who are having problems sleeping consistently straight through the night. And so the enhancement of the dreaming, I think that one aspect of that is that you spend more solid time down in those deep phases of sleep, getting into there, and then you're able to come up into the REM sleep and spend some time in that as well. So, the way mugwort feels is that it enhances your dreaming experience. Like, it might take it where you have only bits and pieces and give you more of a narrative. It might give you color if you had just black and white. It might add in other senses aside from just visuals, where a lot of people, if you think about it, you realize you only dream in pictures rather than like sound and motion and all of that. So mugwort is going to deepen that kind of an experience. You can use this consciously. You can, if you build a little habit or you build some ritual or something to give yourself these conscious cues, I'm about to transition, I'm going into the dream space, then working with mugwort can enhance that as well, and it can help with things like lucid dreaming, where you become aware of the fact that that's happening and you're able to start to manipulate things. So this is particularly useful for the kind of ritual and spiritual work that's often done at this time of year, where you're turning inward, or you're turning to the past, or you're turning to the other realm, trying to get in touch with that a little bit. Mugwort is one of the ways that you can make that kind of a connection. And for this, you don't need physiological doses. You don't need to drink a quart of mugwort tea right before you go to bed, which I wouldn't really advise.
Because then you just wake up and have to pee.
Yeah. It's, and when you drink it in tea, some folks don't like the bitterness of it, but I find that really appealing, actually. It's a very nice bitter. It's got a little touch of aromatics in there. It's nicely balanced. But you can just take a few drops of mugwort tincture to get that process going right before you go to bed, right before you turn out the light, and that works very well. You can also work with mugwort in smoke, and again, for ritual context, that's often a way that we will prefer or choose to work with herbs. So Yeah, those are some ways to try it. You know, once even somebody made for, I think it was Vincent, he made for us a dream salve, and it had...
You loved that.
It had, like, yeah, it had kava-infused oil and mugwort infused into oil, and then, you know, made with some wax and everything to make a salve out of it. And I wasn't sure it was going to work, but it totally did, yeah. So just rubbing that into your feet or your sore muscles or wherever, that was actually enough mugwort magic to make it work. Yeah, so...
People like to make, like, mugwort dream pillows, maybe with some lavender in, if you like lavender or hops or whatever. But that's also really common. Yeah, and you can just smudge with it, too. You know, get it into the smoke.
Yeah, totally.
So this time of year, I really like to think about St. John's wort, right? Because, so mugwort for the sleeping, and then the other aspect of the sort of clearing away those things is your liver. And St. John's wort is probably my very favorite liver plant. And also it's just a really fantastic plant for my body and for me as a person as well. Now, if you're taking pharmaceutical medications, St. John's wort's not a great idea because it improves the function of the liver really effectively, but so effectively that if you're taking pharmaceuticals, it may clear those pharmaceuticals out of your system faster than you actually want to do that. So I wouldn't take it if you're taking pharmaceuticals, but if you're not, then St. John's wort is such a great plant for this time of year and really all through the winter. Partially because it boosts your liver. It really helps you with that physiological process of clearing the things out of you that you don't need anymore. And especially that as we go into the winter and we're eating, you know, root vegetables and heavier types of food, it's also nice to have that extra boost for the liver. But I also love about St. John's wort, and you might remember that we talked about St. John's wort in the solstice video, I love the kind of solar battery aspect of St. John's wort. And the plants are using that right now. The plants are retreating into their roots or into their seeds, where they have stored up the energy of the sun to keep them through the winter so that in the spring they're ready to pop out and be plants again. And St. John's wort does that for us, right? St. John's wort is this really amazing, beautiful solar plant. It's so yellow and so sunny, and it's right there blooming at the height of the sun at the solstice time, and holds on to that energy for us, and we can carry that through the year, through the dark time of the year. I love St. John's wort just as tea. I find really, really delicious. And also, I find that it's a really familiar kind of flavor for a lot of people, especially if you're new to herbs and tea, because it really is very similar to just regular black tea or like English breakfast kind of tea. Yeah. So you can totally put some lemon in there, a little honey, and it really just tastes like a cup of tea. So it's really familiar and friendly, but so excellent. And a lot of people talk about St. John's wort for depression and whatever. And more I like to talk about it in terms of it's holding that sun energy, that solar energy, in order to get you through the dark time and helping you to clear out the heavy things that you don't want to be carrying with you anymore. And so because of those effects, it has a very uplifting nature to it. I just love St. John's wort.
Yeah, and on a Samhain kind of note here, you know, St. John's wort has that long association as protecting against evil spirits and demon possession and the whole thing, which we tend to think about a little bit differently in this era, but it's the same basic idea, you know, if we're trying to chase away some bad thoughts or some dark cloud depression or that kind of thing, or help to get through the dark time of winter and your seasonal affective, you know, discontent, disillusionment, then St. John's wort is going to be really helpful for that as well. So whatever your metaphor is or whatever way you like to talk about it, it's helpful for all those kind of functions too. And again, that's really, I think, you know, best understood or expressed as that, like, holding on to that solstice sun and bring it over to the other side of the year. Yeah.
And then, of course, I mean, it is Halloween. And no matter how much you try to avoid it, there's candy everywhere. And candy is sugar, and sugar means more work for your liver. So St. John's wort can help you recover from the sugar hangover that's likely to happen tonight. Whether you are a kid trick-or-treating or an adult with a bowl of candy that you're supposed to be giving out to kids, but probably eating yourself as well. So St. John's wort can help you with that too.
Nice. Okay, hey Elsie, should we go to the park? Should we play in the sun? Yes. See you later.